And welcome back to another Unbound episode. Episode 25, of course. But welcome to another episode of Unbound. Welcome. The show where we dive deep into the headlines, where we break down the chaos and ask the questions that everyone else is too afraid to ask. I'm Jay Morales. With me tonight, we have a substitute co-host, Dab Down 710. What's going on, Dab?
What's up, guys? It's the same shit, different evening.
Yeah, but it is the middle of the week, ladies and gentlemen. It's over. It's almost over, right, Dab? The weekend. It's coming ahead, ladies and gentlemen. We also have tonight our special guest, another special guest tonight, replacing our good friend here, Dab Dunn. It is our good friend, the Prophet. What's going on, Prophet?
You know, good things, good stuff. Good vibes, hopefully.
Good vibes coming in hot tonight from our special guest. But tonight, we're covering a lot of stuff tonight, ladies and gentlemen. We'll start with North Carolina's sweeping immigration crackdown, and then we dig into the Justice Department upcoming release of the Jeffrey Epstein Files. We'll explore the backlash over Operation Charlotte's Web, and the political and moral questions raised by President Trump's comments on Jamal Khashoggi. We'll break down also the federal court's blocking of Texas redrawn maps and the U.S. threatening cartel strikes in Latin America, and how the Justice Department is handling the Epstein documents. We'll examine also ICE and DHS enforcement tactics, the ongoing tensions between state and federal authorities, and the political fallout and public reaction to these actions. Then we take it overseas to Ukraine, where Russian strikes have killed dozens in Ternopil, and to Lebanon, where Israel struck a Palestinian refugee camp in Ain el Hilway, also resulting in deadly casualties. It's a packed show, ladies and gentlemen, with a lot of moving pieces. We're here to cut through the noise, unpack the facts, and ask the questions that matter. So buckle up. We're diving right in. Are you ready, boys? So, ladies and gentlemen, our first segment is coming out from North Carolina. North Carolina is entering a tense new chapter as immigrants enforcement tightens across the state, reshaping the daily rhythm of communities that have long lived, worked, and raised families here. What began as a policy to shift inside legislative chambers has now spilled fully into the streets, schools, workplaces, and neighborhoods, where the consequences are impossible to ignore. With state leaders pushing for stronger cooperation between local sheriffs and federal immigration authorities, residents are navigating a landscape that feels suddenly unfamiliar. In cities like Charlotte and Raleigh, the change is palpable. Community organizers describe parents who now take alternative routes to work, families that keep emergency documents by the front door, and students who come to school distracted by the fear of what might be waiting at home. Simple errands, renewing a license, going to a clinic, even grabbing groceries have taken on a tone of caution. Sorry about that. People move differently when they're not sure where the boundaries are. Local sheriff's departments have become a flashpoint in this debate. Some officials embrace the new enforcement direction, arguing it strengthens public safety. Others resists, saying it fractures trust and pushes immigration communities deeper into the shadows. The divide has created a patchwork of enforcement across the state, leaving families unsure of what awaits them as they cross county lines. For many, uncertainty itself becomes its own kind of burden. The economic impact is equally hard to ignore. North Carolina's agriculture sector, already strained by labor shortages, now worries that harvest will fall behind without a dependable workforce. Construction companies face unpredictable staffing gaps. Restaurants and service industries brace for rising turnover and delayed operation. While political debate rage about security and sovereignty, business owners warn that the crackdown may destabilize industries that keep the state running. Yet, even in the tense atmosphere, communities are responding with resilience. Churches offer late night legal workshops. Local nonprofits set up hotlines, translation services, and emergency planning sessions. Rapid response teams coordinate rides, childcare, and communication when detentions occur. There is fear, but there's also solidarity. Neighbors refusing to let one another face uncertainty alone. And that brings North Carolina to today's crossroads. This crackdown is not just a policy shift, it's a reshaping of how the state understands safety, belonging, and responsibility. It's a moment that reveals where the fault lines run and who bears the weight when policies grow sharper. My ending discussion questions about what's happening in North Carolina. What responsibilities should local law enforcement have when it comes to immigration enforcement, and where should the boundaries be drawn? How do we balance community safety with the need to maintain trust between immigrant families and local authorities? And what roles should businesses play in shaping or resisting immigration policy that directly affects their their workforce? In moments of heightened enforcement, what does community support actually look like, and what becomes responsible for providing it? As North Carolina moves deeper into this crackdown, what values should guide the state's next step? Ladies and gentlemen, let me know in the comment section, what do you guys think? Boys, what's your response?
The feeling of uncertainty can be overwhelming sometimes.
Indeed.
It can drive people to do mean things.
Indeed. That's why when this is happening now with the ICE situation, people are making it out to be that these people are that these people are criminals, that these people are going to kill you, when in reality, this uncertainty that's happening with the community and migrants is going to lead to an escalation. And that's the escalation that they keep saying that it's happening, when it's not happening by themselves or happening by somebody else antagonizing the situation. It's like throwing gasoline on a fire and waiting for it to actually blow up as soon as you throw in the gasoline. Is that good enough? I don't know if that's a good analogy or not.
No, it's fairly accurate. I was underselling it because I'm really not wanting to talk about the other side, the ISIS side, what they're actually doing to whoever they're detaining.
I mean, just recently, yesterday, while they were in North Carolina, I think they were in North Carolina. Please don't misquote me, ladies and gentlemen. I'm sorry if I am. But a Mexican father, was in a work truck. When I mean work truck, it was just like a simple Ford Ranger, maybe, let's say, or maybe a Toyota truck, something like that. And he was with his two teenage sons, and they were, crossed with an ICE agent vehicle, and instead of the ICE agents asking questions, they just immediately started breaking the windows and stuff like that. And the gentleman ended up, and the gentleman that was driving the vehicle, because he didn't want his kids to get hurt because they're not answering the gentleman's questions, he just fled the scene, and the people started shooting at the vehicle, almost killing his teenage son. So again, what do we need, ladies and gentlemen, for a teenage person, a teenage kid to get shot, a teenage migrant to get shot to learn the lessons around here, ladies and gentlemen? That's not what this is about.
No. Wake up. Hello? You there? We gotta do something. But what is it? Can't just march anymore because the fucking government laughs at that.
Literally, ladies and gentlemen, stay safe out there, you migrants. You're doing we all know that you are the backbone of America. You are the reason why we are be able to get our fruits and vegetables. We know that you are the ones that make it happen when we go to the restaurants. When we go to hotels, we know who you are, and we appreciate it.
Most people in America immigrated here. So, heritage-wise speaking,
or have family that has origins from overseas.
Correct.
yes, we're a nation built on
Diversity.
other, cultures.
Exactly.
No, it's hard.
Exactly.
Yeah, it's hard.
It does. It does. It does. It truly does. All right. We had producer Mike here. I don't know if producer Mike is still with us. Producer Mike, shout out to producer Mike. We do a show together called The Movement. Don't miss it every Tuesday at 8 p.m. Eastern Time. Let's see here. I'm trying to find this thing real quick because I forgot to share this live, ladies and gentlemen. If you're watching this from YouTube, welcome. If you are watching this from Facebook when I posted it, welcome. If you're finding this on Twitter, welcome. Let's see. One more person I gotta send this to. Bada bing, bada boom. Oh, shoot. That's not what I wanted. Ladies and gentlemen, I'm so sorry. There we go. There we go. Now we're cooking. Ladies and gentlemen. We're moving now on to our next segment. We turn to a high-stakes showdown unfolding in Washington. Congress has forced the Justice Department's hand, and now the long-guarded Epstein files are set to come to light. I think late a couple days already? Isn't it been a few days? Anyway, after relentless public pressure and political maneuvering, the Epstein Files Transparency Act passed through Congress by overwhelming margins. The House approved it. 427 to 1. The law now requires Attorney General Pam Bondi to release all unclassified Justice Department documents related to Jeffrey Epstein, and she pledged compliance. Bondi's announcement comes with caveats. Hopefully I'm saying that right. Not everything will be raw or unredacted, according to legal experts and DOJ officials. Certain materials may be withheld or heavily redacted on the grounds of victims' privacy, ongoing investigations, or even grand jury secrecy. That said, she has promised a release within 30 days of the bill enacted. This isn't the first time the DOJ has released Epstein-related documents. Earlier this year, Bondi oversaw a first phase of declassified materials, including flight logs, contact books, and other investigative files. Still, many critics say the earlier release was incomplete. That despite all the talk of transparency, there's still a massive hidden trove of records. Complicating the picture, the DOJ has formally requested that a court unseal grand jury transcripts and related exhibits from the Epstein and Maxwell investigation, but here too, obstacles remain. Judges have pushed back, arguing that much of the critical investigative material is already within the DOJ possession, and that those internal files dwarf the relatively small grand jury record. Meanwhile, members of Congress, especially some Democrats on the Senate Homeland Security Committee, are calling for full unredacted disclosure. Homeland Security Committee, they argue that true accountability means more than just releasing bland summaries. It means giving the public access to the full documented scope of Epstein's network and potentially naming powerful people who may have been involved. But Bondi and others warned that simply releasing everything could re-traumatize survivors. As the countdown begins, the public is left wondering, will we finally see the full breadth of Epstein's operation, or will critical pieces remain hidden behind redactions, sealed in the name of privacy and national security? And here's my discussion questions about the Epstein files being released. What are the potential benefits and risk of releasing the Epstein files in full? How should the Justice Department strike a balance between transparency, protecting the privacy of victims? Do you think grand jury materials should be made public, even if they... Sorry about that. Oh, my God, sorry. Do you think grand jury materials should be made public, even if they contain sensitive, potential libelous information? What role does Congress play in enforcing government transparency, and are there limits... and are there limits to its power? How might this release reshape public understanding of Epstein's network, and who could be most affected by new disclosures? You know, I know there's thousands of names on that log, ladies and gentlemen. What do you guys think? And by the way, let us know in the comment section what's your opinion about the questions. Go ahead, boys.
So there's a way to release like those types of files without compromising victim confidentiality. And I'm sure if and when they do end up releasing said files, that there will be sections of black ink.
Oh yeah.
I mean, it's bound to happen. Plain and simple.
For those of you who expect to see certain names on there, more than likely, like it already says here in the article, they might be redacted in black ink all over it. Let us know again in the comment sections. What do you think about this move of the Epstein files and where it's going to lead to, ladies and gentlemen? Thank you. Moving along now, we shift from politics and policy to the world of books. A world currently roiled by an unexpected controversy. It began when the federal government unveiled the title of a new national security initiative, a name intended to project decisiveness and control. But almost immediately, authors, publishers, critics, and readers across the literary landscape pushed back, accusing officials of co-opting language with deep creative and cultural roots. The initiative, known publicly as Operation Name, landed with a blunt force of marketing slogan, yet to many writers, it did more than just announce a policy. It collided directly with the symbolic and metaphor-heavy language that defines literature. That single phrase, Operation Name, echoed the title of a beloved 2004 novel, appeared in multiple poem collections, and carried a legacy of metaphorical meaning tied to identity, authorship, and the act of naming itself. Almost overnight, the backlash erupted as they swept through literary magazine, arguing that the government had appropriated artistic language without regarding of its history. Turning a nuanced cultural symbol into a bureaucratic command, novelists took to social media, calling the operation branding and erasure, masquerading as strategy. Poets asked how phrase so connected to creative expression could be reduced to a cold, militaristic label. Publishers weighed in too, noting that the book sales for book bearing similar titles had suddenly dipped as readers grew wary of buying something they feared might be connected to federal enforcement. Librarians reported that patrons were returning relevant titles early, uncomfortable with the sudden political association. The government response has been predictably restrained. Officials insist that title was chosen for clarity and strategic relevance, not to borrow from the literary world. They dismiss the criticism as overreaction, but their dismissal only stokes the fire. To writers, the issue is not simply the name, it is the sense that language, once again, is being reshaped by power instead of by meaning. And so the strange battle line has formed, not over plot or ideology, but over the ownership and moral weight of a phrase. It's a conflict that reveals how fragile language can be and how fiercely people will defend the words that define stories, identities, and truth. My discussion questions about this: who owns language? The state, the artist, or the culture that uses it? Should governments avoid operation names that echo existing works of literature, or is overlap inevitable? How does public branding shape the meaning of a phrase, and can a creative work survive that shift? What responsibility does the government have to consider cultural and artistic implications when naming major operations? Does the backlash signal a deeper anxiety about how power influences language, or is it simply a debate over a title? Let us know in the comments section. What do you guys think? And boys, what do you guys think about it? Should a government avoid operation names that echo existing works of literature, or is overlapping inevitable? That's the best one.
Full fucking send. Full fucking send.
I think it's going to be inevitable.
I think so.
Because in a poetic fashion, it just, you want it to work like that. All the moving parts correlating with the purpose.
It sounds like book burning 101, ladies and gentlemen. But we'll see about that. Let us know again in the comment section what you guys think.
Yeah, I didn't even think of that.
In a highly anticipated White House visit, President Donald Trump welcomed Saudi Crown Prince Mohammed bin Salman amid a flurry of economic and strategic announcements. The event, intended to highlight renewed U.S.-Saudi cooperation, quickly became dominated by one question: the 2018 murder of Washington Post journalist Jamal Khashoggi. During a press briefing, a reporter asked Trump about accountability for Khashoggi's death. The president responded with a series of remarks that sparked immediate controversy. He called Khashoggi extremely controversial, suggested a lot of people didn't like that gentleman, he said, and dismissed the circumstances of the killing by stating, "Things happen." He then rebuked the press, telling reporters, "You don't have to embarrass our guests by asking a question like that." The comments directly contradicted a 2021 CIA assessment, which concluded that the Crown Prince likely approved Khashoggi's killing by publicly claiming that MBS, which is the Saudi's prince initials, knew nothing. Trump effectively challenged U.S. intelligence. Raising concerns about credibility and accountability at the highest levels of government. Mohammed bin Salman responded cautiously, calling the murder painful and admitting it was a huge mistake. He assured that Saudi Arabia had taken steps to prevent such incidents in the future, though he stopped short of acknowledging direct responsibility. The exchange left many observers unconvinced, and human rights groups swiftly condemned the remarks. The timing of the controversy added to its impact. Trump's meeting with MBS also included an announcement of nearly $1 trillion in Saudi investments in the United States, cooperation on artificial intelligence and civil nuclear projects, and potential sales of F-35 fighter jets. Critics argue that the focus on economic and strategic gains appeared to outweigh moral considerations, while supporters defended the visit as pragmatic diplomacy aimed at strengthening alliances and unlocking investment. Reactions were immediate and polarized. Human rights advocates described Trump's statements as dismissive and morally tone deaf, while pressing freedom groups criticized his rebuke of reporters as an attack on journalism. Khashoggi's widow, Hanan Electra, my goodness gracious, I'm so sorry. Hanan Electra Khashoggi had long called for justice and accountability, and the president's comments were widely seen as a setback for those efforts. Beyond immediate headlines, the incident raised broader questions about the balance between strategic interests and also rights in U.S. foreign policy. It highlighted the tension between economic and security priorities and moral responsibility, and underscored the influence of presidential rhetoric on both public perception and international relations. The Khashoggi moment also served as a reminder of the ongoing debate over press freedom. By publicly dismissing a journalist's murder and chastising the press, the president demonstrated the fraught intersection of power, accountability, and media scrutiny. As the United States navigates its complex relationship with Saudi Arabia, the repercussions of this meeting will continue to be felt in diplomatic circles, in human rights advocacy, and in the global conversation about accountability, transparency, and the limits of power. Here's my discussion questions about this. What does Trump's What does Trump's "things happen" comment suggest about his view of Khashoggi's assassination? How should U.S. respond when credible intelligence implicates foreign leaders in violent crimes? What are the implications for press freedom when a president publicly rebukes reporters in such a context? Can strategic or economic partnership justify overlooking serious human rights violation? How might this meeting influence U.S.-Saudi relations, both diplomatically and in the public eye? Let us know in the comment section what you guys think. As always, I always keep an eye out on the comments so we can have this discussion on the next episode. Boys, what does the Trump's "things happen" comment suggest about his view on Khashoggi's assassination? Under the rug. All this presidency has been about is a balance of U.S. government money, tax exemptions, and so on and so forth. What do you guys think?
I can kind of agree with that statement, but as far as with it directly to do with the assassination, I feel like maybe he's hinting at maybe we had something to do with it, without directly being like, "Oh yeah, we did that."
How should U.S. leaders respond when credible intelligence implicates foreign leaders in violent crimes? I mean, in reality, maybe don't bring him to the White House. I don't know. I don't know. That's how I see it. But it is what it is. America needs the money right now, especially this investment. Because remember, America is in trillions of dollars in debt. So if Saudi Arabia is going to give $1 trillion, why the fuck not, right?
Yeah.
What are the implications for press freedom when a president publicly rebukes reporters in such a context? I mean, he just called a woman on the Air Force One piggy. Shut up, piggy. And she wasn't even fat. He literally called her and said, "Shut up, piggy." That's what he said to the reporter. And because it was something to do with the Epstein Files, of course, because he wasn't answering anything else. So she went ahead and hit him with the Epstein File situation. But, in all the videos that you and I have ever watched in any workforce that we have worked for, what's it called? Sexual harassment video? If I said that to somebody in the workforce, I'll be fired, ladies and gentlemen.
Yeah.
I'll be fired. But that's the facts, ladies and gentlemen. That is not me being one-sided. That is just the facts. Let's see here. What's the next question? Let me tell you something also about reporters and CNN and, and blah, 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 right? We all know that every single news outlet, what they are, they try to misinform you so then you believe it all, right? One, Fox says one thing, CNN says another, HLN says one thing, ABC says another, CNBC says one thing. Who else am I missing here on freaking news? There's so much out there, right, ladies and gentlemen?
CNN.
But what I'm saying is, ladies and gentlemen, that's why you have to go out there and look up information, look up videos, look up everything to be informed. That's why you're here right now listening on us, because we gather all that information from all these articles and we put it together and we see if it's bullshit or not, or that's why we also put these discussion questions at the end, ladies and gentlemen, so we can talk with you and find out what do you think about the opinions and the answers of this of each segment. Can strategic or economic partnership justify overlooking serious human rights violation? No. We shouldn't be, overlooking no such thing of human rights violation, because we don't do it right now with the Ukraine. We don't do it right now with the Ukraine. Do we? Am I putting this correctly? I think just recently,
what are we doing?
Zelensky.
I heard recently.
Go ahead.
I heard recently there was a couple missile attacks on a urban center in Ukraine.
We'll be touching that later on this episode. 20 people died, I believe. Let's see what else we got. How might this meeting influence U.S.-Saudi relations, both diplomatically and in the public eye? Diplomatically, the Saudis already own a lot of businesses out here. Okay, they practically own ESPN, almost all the sports entertainment they own. I don't know if you knew this, but oh my God, the Mexican fighter and this the other guy that just Bruce Crawford, right? Bruce Crawford versus who was the Mexican fighter that he fought? Anyway, the Saudi prince was there. He's the one that also said at the pre-weight that they were gonna get paid even more than what they were told. But why? Because Saudi Arabia is involved in all these sports entertainments, ladies and gentlemen, and they own it. They own it. You should know that they own WWE. They own most of UFC with Dana White. I mean, Dana White is the main guy, but these are the investors. They own a little bit of this. Okay, so anyway, what I'm saying is, diplomatically, because Saudi Arabia is already one of our allies, why wouldn't they already invest something with us here? Because they're trying to get. I don't know if they're trying to get us to be like Saudi Arabia, because that'll be awesome, wouldn't it? We'll have a cheaper gasoline. We'll be able to tip our cars on our side going like 80, 90 miles an hour down the highway. That'll be awesome, wouldn't it? But in the public eye, a lot of people are going to judge it. People are going to say, oh, we're going to bring these Arabs over here and it's going to be a problem. They're not going to be speaking their own languages. That's what Americans would say when they get here. That's going to be the problem for certain Americans. Maybe let's give it like 75% of Americans are not going to be happy about this. They weren't already happy when they found out that President Donald Trump gave them an old military base. I think it was what was it called? It was an airport, an old military base airport or something like that, over in South Dakota or something like that, somewhere in that area, if I'm not mistaken. But if I'm mistaken, please let me know in the comment section, and I'll find out if I'm wrong or not. That's why we're here, folks, is to get educated together. But yeah, that's that, ladies and gentlemen. I think our good friend Dabdon had a little bit more about the situation with the Saudi prince. With President Donald Trump and Saudi Crown Prince Mohammed bin Salman. What do you got?
So, this, I don't even know where to start off.
Well, while he finds where he's going to start on there, ladies and gentlemen, this sponsor is brought to you by the Cavell Hotel and Tavern. The Cavell, down in Heidelberg. It is Heidelberg. They're located at 2647 Heidelberg Avenue, Klein, Feltersville, Pennsylvania. Phone number 717-949-8413. They're open from Wednesdays to Sunday. They are closed tonight because they only open from 4 to 9, Thursday 4 to 9, Friday 4 to 10, Saturday 12 to 10, and Sunday 12 to 8 p.m. Ladies and gentlemen, Klein Feltersville has one of the best hotel and tavern restaurants in town. Ladies and gentlemen, go ahead and try the peanut butter burger and many other great food and refreshments. Seth and Jamie, the owners, will treat you as family. So come on down. If you need reservations for any bigger parties, make sure to contact them again at 717-949-8413. Thank you very much. You good?
Yeah, I'm good.
Moving
So-
to Dabdon.
To start this off, the $1 trillion promise is a wave that surprised most of the surprise that moved through the room when Trump said Mohammed bin Salman, or pushed Mohammed bin Salman to exceed an originally $600 billion pledge, with the Crown Prince going even further. Quote, "We increased it today," MBS said. End quote. It is almost a, or quote, "It is almost $1 trillion," end quote. Trump nodded and told gathered press that he liked the figure. A senior General Electric executive, David Rommel, that name sounds a little familiar for those of you that don't know, or General Irvin Rommel. Anyway, a facility leader for GE Vernova told Trump that Saudi demand is driving a surge in U.S. production. Rommel said GE is tripling output at a Greenville, South Carolina turbine facility and adding 1,800 jobs. Well, hey, why don't y'all call me? Because I need one of them jobs.
Send them down.
Anywho, Trump said the investment wave strengthens American workers and supply chains. A little bit more, talking about how, I'm basically going to summarize this one. Talking about how this is how Saudi money already reaches deep into the American economy, which is true given the fact that without the Saudi Arabian oil infrastructure, our oil infrastructure would not be where it's at. Because thanks to the Saudi Arabians and the Kuwaitians, basically, Kuwait and Iraq, we kind of took it through force because we kind of said, hey, we're rolling armor in and we're taking your oil and we're kicking out your leader. Saudi Arabia, we were able to make a deal with them on a trade deal, and which gave us time to kind of get an oil infrastructure going, and that's where we're at today. And that's just one of many ways that the Saudis have their hands in U.S. money. So, basically, long story short, on that one. Now here's where we've got a little bit of juice about this is referring to the F-35s. When Trump faced a question about Saudi Arabia's pursuit of the F-35, The president said he's already spoke with Israeli officers about it. Mohammed bin Salman said Saudi Arabia plans to spend $50 billion soon and expects long-term investment to reach hundreds of billions of billions for U.S. chips and advanced computing. Hold on, I have issues. The conversation also unfolded as U.S. posture continues to expand in Asia. Trump said Iran wants a deal and claimed American action, quote, took out 95% of their oil program, end quote. Which is true. We sent, I want to say, I'm pretty sure we sent every single B2 Spirit we have in the fleet, and gave every single one of them a target, and said, take this bunker, and said, take this bunker buster and go put it there. And Iran woke up the next morning and all of their shit was gone.
Whoa, that's crazy.
I mean, that's what happens when you fuck with us. You wake up one morning and all your shit and all your cool shit's gone. Well, you don't piss off the United States of America. You don't fuck with our boats. I mean, that's how you get the sun dropped on your fucking head.
Raindrops are falling on Dab's head. Is that all, Dab?
Yeah, I think we'll end this discussion here.
All right, we're gonna move on along now. I know that our good friend Dab does have a few more things for us later on. In a major legal setback for Texas Republicans, a federal court has blocked the state's newly redrawn congressional map ahead of 2026 midterm election. The decision issued by a 3-judge panel in El Paso concluded that the 2025 map violated constitutional prosecutions by engaging in racial gerrymandering. The ruling orders Texas to revert to the gerrymandering. The ruling orders Texas to revert to the 2021 map for the upcoming elections, a move that could reshape the political landscape for several key districts. The court's majority opinion, authored by U.S. District Judge Jeffrey V. Brown, emphasized that the map designed went beyond ordinary partisan politics. The judge found substantial evidence that district lines were drawn in a way that intentionally diluted the voting power of Black and Hispanic communities. According to the ruling, several of the so-called coalition districts where minorities voters collectively wield influence, were being dismantled, reducing minority representation in Congress. Key to the court's decision was a July letter from the U.S. Department of Justice Civil Rights Division, which highlighted areas where minority voters were underrepresented. The court concluded that Texas officials, included Governor Greg Abbott, had effectively used the guidance as a blueprint to redraw lines around race rather than solely for partisan considerations. Public comments from lawmakers sponsoring the redistricting also reinforced the conclusion that race was a primary factor in the process. Civil rights advocates praised the decision. Organizations like the NAACP called it a victory for voting rights, noting that it preserved the electoral power of Black and Latino voters and blocked what they described as overt attempt to dilute minority influence. And analysts point out that while some new majority minority districts were created in 2025 map, their configuration limited actual political power, effectively neutralizing minority voices. Texas officials immediately vowed to appeal. Governor Abbott described the ruling as clearly erroneous and framed the redistricting as a legitimate effort to align districts with conservative voters. The state has already signaled plan to take the case to the U.S. Supreme Court, setting it up potential national confrontation over the limits of partisan and racial considerations in redistricting. This ruling carries implications far beyond Texas, with mid-decade redistricting increasingly pursued in other Republican-led states. The court decision underscores the ongoing tensions between state-level political strategy and federal protections against racial gerrymandering. For voters, the decision could mean a last-minute reversion to old district boundaries, while for political sorry about that again, ladies and gentlemen. While for political strategists, it serves a warning that courts may intervene when race is used to manipulate electoral outcomes. Here's my discussion questions about this. Where should the line be drawn between partisan redistricting and unconstitutional racial gerrymandering? How should courts weigh DOJ guidance when evaluating state redistricting plans? Sorry about that. What are the long-term implications of reverting to the 2021 map for Texas voters? How might this ruling affect the balance of power in the U.S. House ahead of 2026? What does this case reveal about the role of federal courts in ensuring fair representation? Ladies and gentlemen, let us know in the comments section what you guys think. Boys, where should the line be drawn between partisan redistricting and unconstitutional racial gerrymandering?
So gerrymandering is basically a fancy word for panhandling. Well, it's I mean it's a little more in depth than just going out on the side of the fucking road with a pan in your hand and being like, I need money. But I mean, either way, it's fucking illegal. So, I mean, I don't really have a way to answer that, honestly. That's not something that I feel comfortable answering.
Ladies and gentlemen, we try to answer the uncomfortable questions around here, but sometimes it's tough. Sometimes it's tough to answer. But
Really, where do you draw the line at? Seriously, and I mean, how are the lines even drawn in the first place? How are they decided? How were they decided?
right.
Nobody knows, but Google it.
Well, the answer that I got from the docket team, the distinction hinges on intent and effect. Partisan redistricting, drawing districts to favor a political party, is generally permissible under the Constitution, provided it doesn't disproportionately targets voters based on race. Racial gerrymandering is unconstitutional when race is the prominent factor in district design. Subordinating traditional redistricting principles like geography, compactness, and community interest. Courts often look for explicit evidence that race rather than politics was the controlling factor. The challenge is that race and party affiliation often correlate, so separating legitimate partisan strategy from prohibited racial targeting requires nuance, context-specific judicial analysis. So that's the answer for that one. The next
So what are they
question.
gonna do
Go ahead.
when a certain neighborhood gets bought up by a corporation? Thank you. And they got to be moved out. Fuck, where was I going with this? because they're prominent land based on their voting power, I guess. Backroom stuff.
Yeah.
Try and split them up because there's a lot of nationalities converging into one location. I say nationalities, I mean like different heritages.
Now, how should courts weigh DOJ guidance when evaluating state redistricting plans? The DOJ guidelines or guidance to that, especially under the Voting Rights Act (VRA), can inform courts about whether a plan may dilute minority voting power. While not binding, it is a highly persuasive, particularly regarding Section 2 of the VRA, which protects against vote dilution. Courts often consider DOJ input alongside demographic data, historically voting patterns, and evidence of discriminatory intent. However, courts must balance DOJ recommendation with state sovereignty over elections and avoid deferring blindly. DOJ guidance is a reference point, not a substitute for judicial fact finding. Uh, that's what we got for that. What are the long-term implications of reverting to the 2021 map for Texas voters? Reverting the 2021 map could have several consequences, honestly. Political representation districts previously drawn to favor a party may now shift, potentially altering which party controls certain seats. Minority representation. If the 2021 map better reflected racial and ethnic communities, minority voters might have greater ability to elect candidates of choice. Electoral stability. Frequent map changes can confuse voters, complicates election administration, and reduce public confidence in fairness. On that, policy impacts, shifts in representation can influence state and federal policy priorities for years, affecting resource allocation and legislative agendas. I could keep going on every single question, but ladies and gentlemen, we are on a time frame, so we are going to move along from the questions to our next topic. Let us know in the comment section what you guys think, and we'll talk about these questions on the next segment, next show. The United States is escalating its fight against Latin American drug cartels, signaling a shift from traditional law enforcement to the use of military force. Under the Trump administration, several criminal organizations, including Venezuela, Tren de Agua, have been designated as foreign terrorist organizations, a move that allows the president to authorize military strikes under the law of armed conflict. This represents a major change in how the U.S. approaches the long-standing issue of narcotics trafficking in the Western Hemisphere. Recent operations illustrate the new strategy. In September 2025, U.S. forces carried out a strike on a small vessel in the Caribbean linked to Tren de Agua, killing 11 people and seizing large shipments of drugs. The Pentagon described the strike as a warning to other cartels and a demonstration of U.S. resolve. In addition to maritime operations, the military has deployed thousands of troops and several F-35 fighter jets to Puerto Rico and other Caribbean locations to support future operations. Officials have indicated that land-based strikes remain possible if cartel leaders are identified, signaling a significant expansion of military engagement in the region. The administration has framed the campaign as a fight against narco-terrorism rather than a conventional criminal investigation. Secretary of Defense Pete Hegseth emphasized that the strike was only beginning of a sustained effort, while Secretary of State Marco Rubio described the operation as a part of an ongoing war against organized crime networks that threaten U.S. security. President Donald Trump defended the use of lethal force, framing it as a deterrent and a message to other cartels members that the U.S. will act decisively against those threatening American interests. However, the approach has drawn criticism from legal experts, human rights advocates, and some regional leaders. Questions have been raised about the legality of the strikes under international law, potentially violations of national sovereignty, and the lack of transparency regarding targets and evidence. Critics warn that escalating military actions could increase instability, provoke retaliation, and strain diplomatic relations with countries in Latin America. The broader implications of this strategy are significant. By treating cartels as terrorist organizations, the U.S. is reframing drug trafficking as a direct national security threat. The campaign could serve as a model for future cross-border operations, setting a precedent of militarized response to organized crime. At the same time, it raises urgent questions about accountability, legality, and the balance between security and respect for international norms. My discussion questions about this: is it legally and morally justifiable for the U.S. to use military force against drug cartels in foreign countries? What are the potential consequences for both positive and negative? Sorry about that again, ladies and gentlemen. Of labeling cartels as terrorist organizations. How might military actions against cartels affect U.S. Latin American relations, particularly with countries concerned about sovereignty? Could these strikes reduce the drug trafficking, or might they accelerate violence and instability in the region? What role should Congress and international bodies play in authorizing or overseeing such operations? Let us know in the comment section, as always, ladies and gentlemen, when we go through these. Boys, especially Dab, I know you always have a great answer when it comes to these strikes and stuff. Is it legally or morally justifiable for the U.S. to use military force against drug cartels in foreign countries? Dab, you there?
My bad, guys. I had my mic muted. I apologize. But anyways, like I have said multiple times before on the show, okay, the drug cartels, as of the very first day that Trump retook office, have been labeled terrorist groups. Okay, or no, not groups. Organizations have been labeled as terrorist organizations. Therefore, one, the U.S. military does not give a fuck about morals. Okay? Let me tell you something that I guarantee you that Mr. Prophet here will agree with me on this. One of the biggest things that they tried to rip out of us and break us of was our morals. I mean, yeah, you have what's it called, Prophet? A code or whatever.
We had virtues.
Yeah, mine was something like virtues, but like for me, it was integrity, service before self, uh, uh, yeah, integrity,
Was it leadership?
service before self, and excellence, and excellence in all I do. Well, it was technically all we do, but you get the gist. Uh, core values. Uh, like for they we call they were called the Air Force's core values. For the Army, it was Army virtues. Uh, But as far as morals are considered, if the in the war in war, the second you try to show any sign of morality, guess what? Your enemy don't give a fuck about morals. He's blowing your fucking brains off the back of your skull.
It's not entirely true. Look at the
I
Christmas
mean,
of
okay. Let's not get too far into it, Prophet. The second you showed that first sign of weakness, unless it's I mean, there is that one rare, very, very rare case, the Christmas of night of the Christmas or Christmas. I want to say early 19. I want to say it was Christmas of 1918, World War One. The British and the British and the Germans laid their guns down and celebrated Christmas together. Like, okay, cool. Yeah, that was the first and one time there was a little bit of morality and humanity shown in war. But the second you try to show an enemy any sign of, especially these newer ones, especially somebody that's like the cartel or some of these old terrorist groups, ISIS, Al Qaeda, just to list a couple of them that I can remember during my lifetime. I mean, shit, even the Taliban. The second you try to show them any sign of morality or mercy, they see it as a sign of weakness, and 99.9% of the time will end up blowing your brains out of the back of your skull with zero remorse. They will not give a fuck what about the consequences. They don't care. Our enemies don't care about morals. I mean, do you think that bringing drugs that kill hundreds of people every damn day is morally right? Fuck no. And like I have said before multiple times, once you are labeled as an either an active terrorist or anything with the word terrorist, anything that has to do with legalities, right and wrong, bye bye. No, the law no longer, or you are held to a different standard higher than the law. You are seen as a world threat. You are seen as a not only a threat to national security, but a threat to world security and world peace at that point. Who the fuck just started playing the Whopper song? Anyway, sorry, scroll moment. So, is it morally right? I think so. I mean, that's my personal opinion. It's keeping the bullshit out of my country. I mean, I'm glad we have a president that actually finally, wants to clean our fucking country up a little bit and get the drugs off the streets. Uh, there's not very many presidents that want to do that. So, and I mean, like, if we drop the terrorist label off of the Volvo cartels, is it legally right to use military force?
I'd say
Probably
it is.
not.
I'd say it is.
I mean, I'm
Just
that's
think about it. They're
but
military all their own.
yes,
You are fake news.
yeah. I mean, yeah. Prophet's got a point.
They
Granted,
are
they
a
don't go.
military force all their own.
do they go through the same type of rigorous ass bullshit training that we go through? Fuck no.
Some of the Mexican cartel hitmen, yeah, they do. They go through rigorous training.
But okay, but a lot of your fucking regular ass frontline troops don't go through the same
No,
type
no,
of
no, no. They don't. They don't. But neither did I. Neither did you. We got basic training. Point, shoot.
point and shoot. Yeah, point, shoot. How to fucking hold down a gate. You see, but we're also trained how to properly handle the firearm.
Hmm.
There are a lot of people out there that consider themselves military that don't know how to properly handle the firearm, and will try to try to take a 7.62 AK-40, a 7.62 by 39 AK-47 assault rifle, full auto, while holding it with both hands above their head, with the bitch just sitting there, not even shouldered, and think they're gonna hit something. I mean, yeah, you might get that one lucky round that hits a dude, but it's not like you can't guarantee that it's gonna be an accurate shot. You can't guarantee that it's gonna be a fatal shot. Like, unlike us, we're trained to wait for either a reload or for them to pop their head, and then boom, right to the top of the skull. As soon as you see the top of the crown of the forehead pop, as soon as you see the top of the forehead pop, gone. That's how.
Yeah.
That's how.
Yeah.
I mean, and granted, I was Air Force, so I was. I mean, I had very, 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 very basic combat training. Most of our combat expert is Mr. Prophet over here. But just common sense to me, if I'm in an engagement with another person that is behind a fortified position, I'm going to try to keep eyes on that position without exposing myself too much, and wait for them to pop their head, and I'm taking the top of that forehead off. I mean, all it takes is one at that point. Minimal ammo use or minimal ammo usage. Okay, you're only using one round per body, so you're not sitting there going through a whole 30-round mag to take out one guy. You've got a whole 29 more rounds to take out, let's say 6, 7, 8 more dudes, and if you're smart with them, you can drop 6, 7, 8 more dudes with a 30-round clip. I mean, it's how it's all about your trigger control, your trigger discipline, knowing when and where to actually place rounds on target. But so, like, yeah, they consider themselves a military. I mean, they are considered a military organization simply because of the amount of firepower that the cartels have. I mean, they have been buying all sorts of arms and ammo and vehicles from black market weapons dealers for years. So there's no telling what all they have. I mean, so like I said earlier, once you're labeled a terrorist organization, legality goes out the fucking window, and we don't. And the U.S. military does not give a shit about morals.
I'd just like to say some of us do. It's how you make a chaplain.
Okay, that's if you want to be, behind a desk all the damn time. Lifter 21 and Lifter 22. Ooh, there must be a chase going on in Maryland right now. You know how I know? Because there is a Maryland police chopper just doing circles above the water. Sorry, I'm looking at flight radar. There's also an MQ-4C Triton
Can
in the air.
can he not hear us?
Mr. King of Kings, are you with us?
We can't hear you.
Ladies and gentlemen, I was having microphone issues. Microphone issues. I'm pulling up producer Mike over here. Hopefully not. Thank you again for a beautiful answers to that segment, Dab. You did a fantastic job. You practically answered all the questions. I didn't even have to reread them again. Good job, bud. But moving now along, ladies and gentlemen, because I already read the top of this line like 5 times and I didn't even notice. The Justice Department's handling of Jeffrey Epstein files has once again become a source of controversy, raising questions about transparency, accountability, and the influence of political pressures. While the department has released some documents, critics argue that much of the material remains heavily redacted, delayed, or withheld entirely, leaving the public unsure of what is actually known about Epstein's network of associates. In early 2025, Attorney General Pam Bondi announced the release of a first phase declassified Epstein files. This included flight logs, redacted contact book, and other documents previously leaked but never formally disclosed by the government. While the DOJ claimed these initial pages were important step forward, full transparency, members of Congress and advocacy groups noted that most of the materials were already public and that the files did not reveal any new insights into Epstein's connections. The Justice Department has also been complying with congressional subpoenas, providing additional files to oversight committees. Yet, even in these cases, documents are being heavily reviewed and redacted to protect the identities of victims and sensitive information. The House Oversight Committee has indicated that while it's planned to release portions to the public, it will do so only after careful review, frustrating those who want immediate access to the records. Another point of contention involves grand jury materials. The DOJ has requested court approval to unseal Epstein's grand jury transcripts and exhibits, but judges in Florida have already largely denied these requests, citing the legal protections of grand jury secrecy. Critics argue that this legal barrier is being used to limit public scrutiny of the case, while the DOJ insists it is legally bound to protect sensitive information. Many lawmakers and advocacy groups have expressed frustration with the department approach. Some assert that only small fraction of the tens of thousands of pages provided contain new or substantive information. Others highlight that documented most critical to understanding Epstein's network, including potentially high-profile associates, remain inaccessible. The department also officially stated that no client list exists, a claim that has fueled skepticism among those following the case closely. The controversy is further intensified by concerns over political influence. Some observers suggest the DOJ is managing the release of documents in a way that appears transparent while maintaining tight control over the public, over what the public can see. Congressional Democrats have formally demanded full disclosure, emphasizing that partial releases are insufficient to ensure accountability and public trust. The handling of Epstein files carries significant implications. Transparency is essential not only for public understanding of Epstein's crimes and the connections, but also protecting victims' rights and ensuring that powerful individuals are held accountable. How the Justice Department navigates these challenges will be critical. Will be a critical test at that of its credibility and the broader commitment to justice in high-profile cases. My discussion questions about this is: has the Justice Department done enough to balance transparency with protecting victims' privacy, or is it withholding too much? Should grand jury materials be made public in case of significant public concern, like Epstein's? What are the consequences of releasing only partial or heavily redacted documents? How does political pressure influence what the DOJ chooses to disclose or withhold? What mechanisms remain to ensure full disclosure and accountability in high-profile investigations? Ladies and gentlemen, as always, please let us know in the comment section what you think, and we'll touch base on that within the live or later on the next episode Friday. Right now, though, we got the boys. What do you think about the whole situation? Has the Justice Department done enough to balance transparency with protecting victims' privacy, or is it withholding too much? In my opinion, they were holding too much. It's been years that we've been hearing about this. I want to already know what's going on.
Okay. So there's a way to, let us have the case files without exposing every single fucking victim that he did whatever he did to. They already lived through the fact that he did that to them. They don't need to live with the entire fucking country knowing who they are and what they had happened to them. We talk about having a right to privacy, and I mean, yeah, the Epstein files are something that, like, it'd be nice as a country to kind of be like, okay, what the fuck happened? But at the same fucking time, we don't need to expose every single person. Like, that just doesn't seem fair to them, for the fact that not only do they had to live through the shit, but now we want to, now the country wants to know who they, no.
Well, I mean, it's public information.
And yes, that's understandable, but there needs to, like I said earlier, Black Ink is going to be a fucking massive player in these files.
Oh, there's gonna be massive black ink all over it, man. It will be massive black ink, and that's the facts on that. What are the consequences? Wrong one. Should grand jury materials be made public in cases of significant public concern, like Epstein's? I think we just touched that. Well, they should, but I know some people are gonna,
yes, they should, but at least keep the names of the people that had to suffer confidential.
Right.
They don't need to suffer with the embarrassment of knowing that the entire fucking country knows their name and knows that this is what happened to them.
Right.
When, one, the entire country already knows what Jeffrey Epstein did to his victims. I mean, it but their names don't need to really be I know this is gonna sound shitty, but we don't need to make a martyr out of murder victims.
Sadly, you already know that name has been out so long now that it's already martyred.
I mean, yeah, but that's to me. if we're gonna say the names of the victims of Jeffrey Epstein, then we also need to turn around and say the names of the 13 men and women that we lost in Kabul.
Right.
Those were 13 of Prophet Nye's brothers and sisters that we lost in Kabul because of a bad fucking call in the U.S. government.
Many names, man. Many things will have to get released because you know how that goes. Hush, hush. What are the consequences of
So,
releasing
in my
only? Okay.
opinion, if we're not gonna say the names of those 13 fallen fighters, those 13 fallen warriors that died because of a mistake, because of a stupid pullout that we weren't ready for yet, then why do we need to turn around and say the names of murder victims that aren't substantial? Like, oh, they have this psychomaniac rapist disembodying person murdered all of these people. Okay. What about the 13 brothers that we all lost over in Afghanistan when the bombs fell? When we went to pull out. That's my opinion on it.
Um, what are the consequences of releasing only partial? Okay, so we already talked about that. How does political pressure influence what the DOJ chooses to disclose or withhold? I think we already touched that a little bit also as well. What mechanisms remain to ensure full disclosure and accountability in high-profile investigation?
Well, I mean, one of the biggest ones is the interwebs. There's a lot of information on the interwebs. Um, but you can also I mean, there's court documents, there's case documents, there's victims, there's surviving victim, if there are any surviving victims, there are surviving victim statements. They're out there. You just might have to dig a little bit.
Well, ladies and gentlemen, like I said, make sure to leave us a comment of these answers of these questions. And we're going to move along to Immigration and Customs Enforcement. ICE and the Department of Homeland Security are facing growing scrutiny over increasingly aggressive enforcement tactics. Critics argue that the recent operations resemble military style raids more than traditional law enforcement, raising questions about civil liberties, constitutional protection, and the long term impact on immigration communities. In cities like Chicago, ICE has conducted a pre-dawn raids using helicopters, flashbang grenades, and tactical teams repelling onto residential buildings.
What the shit?
Adults and
This
children
is like full blown
alike.
Spec Ops type shit.
Yeah, adults and children alike have reportedly been zip tied during these operations, sparking widespread criticism. Public protests and video footage have also shown the use of chemical irritants, including tear gas and pepper balls, deployed near schools, stores, and apartment complexes. Critics argue that these tactics exceed standard policing norms and reflect a dangerous militarization within DHS. Worksite raids have also drawn attention. ICE has targeted small businesses such as auto repair shops and car washes, sometimes entering without presenting a warrant. Legal advocates argue that these operations focus less on holding employers accountable and more on maximizing deportation numbers. Additionally, ICE has quietly rescinded earlier guidelines that limited courthouse arrests, allowing agents broader discretion to detain individuals in and around courthouses. A move that raises serious due process concerns. Transparency and oversight remain central points of contention. The ACLU has demanded detailed record after reports of retaliation against people who filmed ICE operations, including arrests of bystanders documenting enforcement. DHS has simultaneously imposed stricter notice requirements for congressional visits to ICE facilities, requiring lawmakers to provide 72 hours notice, which critics argue undermines announcement God damn it, I can't speak right now. Undermines unannounced inspections and independent oversight. The agency has also defended itself against media criticism, denying claims of school raids and asserting that detention facilities meet high standards. The human impact of those tactics is significant. Civil rights groups report heightened anxiety, trauma, and mental health crisis. Within immigrant communities, families live in constant fear, describing experiences of siege conditions triggered by helicopters, tactical teams, and surprise raids. Legal experts warn that continued militarization increases the risk of constitutional violation, while DHS officials cite a dramatic rise in assault on ICE officers as justification for their methods. Supporters argue that the enhanced tactics are necessary to protect agents and maintain enforcement effectiveness. This moment represents a critical juncture in U.S. immigration policy. Aggressive enforcement may achieve short term goals, but critics argue it risks eroding public trust, undermining civil liberties, and permanently reshaping the role of federal immigration agencies. The balance between enforcing immigration laws and representing constitutional protections will remain a central debate in the months ahead. My discussion questions about this. At what point do ICE enforcement tactics cross the line from law enforcement militarization? I believe we just touched that same question earlier. How do mental health impacts on immigrant communities factor into the moral calculus of aggressive raids? I mean, people are going to be scared. People are gonna be scared. People are not gonna
I'm
trust
gonna
the
start
police.
off.
911 is not gonna be a thing very soon. People are just gonna take their matters in their own hands. This is what
So
militarizing, the government will do. Go ahead.
uh, the fact that they are straight doing some like SEAL Team 6 type shit and hitting chopper rappels like out the side of a fucking Black Hawk. I mean, that's some shit you would see SWAT doing if they were doing a fucking like hostage rescue situation, and the only way in was from was up, was from above, and the only way they could get in was out the side of a Black Hawk down a rappel line. Um, and on the anytime something any like your door getting kicked in, like all like you're like the you like you I'm trying to figure out how to word this. That's the type of shit fucks with your head. Straight up.
Yeah. Yeah.
Like, because especially when it's the same people that you're supposed to rely on to keep you safe.
Correct.
Being law enforcement. ICE could be going about the way they're doing their job. They're doing their job a completely different way than the way they're doing it. But at this point, they are just. I don't know. I don't even know how to word it. They're 100% overstepping boundaries, and
Here's the next
it's gonna
question.
take a massive lawsuit.
Here's the next question. What role should Congress and civil rights group play in overseeing ICE operation, particularly in detention facilities and during raids?
There should be at least one. No, hold on.
Yeah, like what do these groups play in overseeing ICE operations, particularly in detention facilities and during raids? So these are the people that are out there practically protesting to stop
Yeah,
this madness.
yeah.
Which a lot of shit I've been seeing out there
I
of
mean,
these
if they
people
can keep the fucking
getting.
riot, groups and people from trying to fight fucking ICE agents, then I'm sure shit'll go a lot fucking smoother.
Well, I mean, the videos
But
that
it's
I've seen,
you
those
have but
people at the facilities, they're really just, they're protesting and blocking the way. And sometimes they're not even blocking or doing anything else just by standing there making noises and whatever. And they'll come out and pepper spray the fuck out of them. You know what I mean? That's
and
because that's
that's
what they wanted to do. You know what I'm saying?
and that's where the overstepping boundaries takes
Correct,
place.
correct.
So because at that point, I mean, if they're
So this is where this comes in.
like
This question: Are ICE claims of
now,
increased violence against agents a legitimate rationale for escalating the force? I mean, they're the ones escalating it, so of course they're gonna escalate it some more. And this is where soon enough, I
so
swear to God, I see it happening. Somebody's gonna come out and have a pew
I've
pew
seen
moment, and
certain
then it's gonna
video.
be a massacre.
Have seen several videos of ICE of I don't know if it was ICE. I don't know if it was California Highway. I don't know if it was California like law enforcement. I don't know if it was National Guard. I don't know what agency it was, but I know it was some sort of law enforcement or military agency. Um, they had formed a barricade line. Okay, and th- they were being pushed by like 15 people with like just like smoke bombs, firecrackers, pipe bomb or not pipe bombs, just little ass shit to try to piss off the fucking uh the officers, agents, whatever you want to call it, the officers. We'll call them officers. So what you're seeing, I'm seeing one side and you're seeing another. Okay, which is good because there is a point that like there is one video that I saw that this one gentleman threw a bottle of something, I don't know what it was, and onto it was an ICE agent. When he went to turn around and walk away, this random dude came out from behind him and hit him with the most accurate representation of a fucking Goldberg spear I could ever fucking imagine. I mean, this dude was full off the ground, legs extended, arms wrapped, almost split this poor dude in half.
Wow.
Just for simply for because it like it wasn't an ICE agent that turned that spear. It was a regular fucking civilian that turned around and speared some dude because he threw a fucking bottle of some liquid substance at an ICE agent or at an ICE operator. Um, and then he ended up being taken into custody because at that point, once you so you let me put it, you don't have to physically touch somebody with force. Like it doesn't have to be a slap or a punch or a push or you don't have to fucking spit on them. You can literally throw a bottle of water on somebody, and that is considered an assault. And especially when you do that to a federal officer, oh, you done fucked yourself up. All sorts of 50 Shades of Sideways. Like, that's assault on a federal officer. Whether you punched him, kicked him, spit on him, slapped him, threw water on him, threw a ball at him, threw a fucking rock at him, it don't matter. Once you do something like that to somebody who is in a position of federal authority, there is a moment, or there is a
Sorry about that.
gray area that is then exposed to where it doesn't matter if you're a citizen or not. You done fucked up and tried to fuck with a federal agent. Now you're gonna go to federal prison. You get to go spend some time in Leavenworth. Have fun. So, but there is a point that you start overstepping boundaries, and that point is when you start doing SEAL Team 6 style fucking, like, SEAL Team 6 Osama bin Laden style fucking raids on people.
No pun intended. But anyway, that goes to show that they're practicing on the public, whatever's coming next. On that, real quick, ladies and gentlemen, we're gonna have a sponsor minute. Real quick, I need to start doing this in the beginning, but it's okay. We're gonna do a quick sponsor. Ladies and gentlemen, this next sponsor is brought to you by Epoxy Floors. Atlas Epoxy Flooring, ladies and gentlemen. Atlas Epoxy Floors is a good friend, Bradford Kelly. He's the owner of Atlas Epoxy Floorings. He's located down in Milford, Connecticut. His phone number is 203-496-6386, or you can reach him on email through brad.kelly@atlasepoxyfloors.com. Again, our good friend Bradford Kelly, he does epoxy floors, can do garages, basements, patios, lobbies, countertops, and whatever else you need epoxied. Again, you can reach him at brad.kelly@atlasepoxyfloors.com. Can also go on his website, www.atlasepoxyfloors.com. Like I said, Bradford is owner of the Atlas Epoxy Floors. It is all, what is it called? A lifetime warranty on these epoxy floors. He can travel all the way to upstate New York, all the way to Pittsburgh. You need him to go to Chicago, he'll go to Chicago. He'll go to Michigan. He'll go to Indiana. He'll go down to my friend down in Oklahoma, Dab Don 710, and do his garage. Make sure to contact our good friend Bradford Kelly, ladies and gentlemen. Good friend of ours. And then a new sponsor, ladies and gentlemen, a good friend Eddie Weber, Red Rum Racing, currently works at Velocity Modern Classics. They would do restorations on classics and make them modernize. Right now we got some word that our good friend Eddie Weber had gotten a phone call today for the group from Velocity that they will be doing a custom Bronco for Post Malone, ladies and gentlemen. So keep an eye out on that. We're going to be trying to get as much information about that, and also hopefully we can get some videos in from our good friend Red Rum Eddie Weber to get to put it on the show, and you guys can see the behind the scenes on this make, ladies and gentlemen. And also, our last sponsor is brought to you by also Producer Mike Presents. Now, Producer Mike and I are on a show together called The Movement. You can find it on this channel right here, Producer Mike Presents in the Jessup Show Legacy. Go ahead and press the lives, and all the lives are there. Not just our lives, but the old show that was called the Jessup Show Podcast from legendary comedian Steve Jessup. AKA, I don't even know if I should say his name. We're going to keep it like that. Steve Jessup, ladies and gentlemen. Yeah, we're going to move it along now to the next segment, and then we'll be back again to our... Ooh, I messed up there, ladies and gentlemen. Sorry about that. We're going to go up to our next segment, and I think we got 4 more on my side there. Revelation, he's not even here. Dab done. And then you can move over.
One.
And then you can move over to do your final one. And then I think we also, our good friend
I'll save the nail.
Prophet does have a good joke for us, ladies and gentlemen. We haven't had a joke from our good friend the Prophet in a while. So stay tuned for that. Moving now to the next segment, state versus federal tensions over immigrant enforcement. I think I just read this, right? No, it's just, man, it's just so much immigration shit happening throughout the entire United States. Tensions between state governments and federal administration are intensifying as the Trump administration pushes hard on immigration enforcement. And what is unfolding is more than a political debate. It's a constitutional struggle over over the limits of federal authority and the state's rights. Democratic-led states have doubled down in on sanctuary policy, while the federal government is using lawsuits and funding threats to enforce compliance, creating a high-stakes clash with real-world consequences for communities across the country. Sanctuary states such as California, Colorado, Illinois, New York, and Oregon have strengthened laws that limit cooperation with federal immigration authorities. These policies are designed to protect undocumented immigrants and preserve trust in local law enforcement. Meanwhile, the Justice Department has sued Illinois and Chicago, arguing that sanctuary laws violate federal authority by obstructing ICE operations. Similarly, a coalition of 20 states that has challenged federal efforts to tie funding to immigration enforcement cooperation. In at least one instance, a federal judge blocked parts of this funding threat, signaling the complex legal terrain of the conflict. The struggle also plays out on the ground. Over 120 local law enforcement agencies in 12 states participate in federal task force agreements, effectively carrying out immigrant enforcement under ICE guidance. This creates tensions between jurisdictions that fully cooperate with federal authorities and those that resist. States like Texas have embraced aggressive enforcement measures, including National Guard involvement, while sanctuary states such as Colorado have enacted laws preventing local facilities from holding individuals for ICE, reflecting fundamentally different approaches to federal requests. At the heart of this conflict is a constitutional question. How far can the federal government go in condition federal funds to coerce state compliance? State compliance. Sanctuary states argue that overreach violates constitutional limits and erodes public trust. The federal administration maintains that national immigration laws require uniform enforcement and that non-compliant jurisdictions undermine national security and public safety. The outcome of this struggle will have far-reaching implications. It could establish long-term precedent for federal authority over states in enforcing civil immigration law, affecting immigrant communities, access to justice and public safety, and reshape political alliance and tensions across the country. The balance between federal power, state autonomy, and the community protection remains uncertain, with every court ruling and policy announcement potentially reshaping the landscape. Now, my discussion questions to this topic: are states justified in resisting federal immigration enforcement, given their unique local concerns, and does this undermine national authority? Let me take a sip of this water real quick. Not water, but Peps. What legal limits should exist on tying federal funding to immigration enforcement cooperation? How does participation in ICE task force agreements affect the role and neutrality of local law enforcement? Do sanctuary laws strengthen community trust, or do they create conflicts that threaten public safety? What precedent could this conflict set for federal state relations and other areas of law enforcement? Let us know in the comments section. I think we have gone through so much talk tonight about all these situations with ICE. I think we might have touched already these things. But let's see, Deb, was there anything different in these questions that you think they need answered?
Not that I could tell, no.
No, because I think we have answered these questions, ladies and gentlemen. We have answered these questions, but these are the questions still that we want you to go ahead and go down and answer anyway. And let us know. Even though you can do the whole roundup of the whole show and then, let us know what you think of all the questions. On to the next, the Trump administration recent actions, particularly its immigration enforcement strategies, have sparked both political backlash and public outcry. Among the flashpoints is the naming of a federal operation, Charlotte's Web, a choice that has drawn criticism not just from literary circles, but also from civil rights advocates and members of the general public. Critics argue that the name evokes unintended symbolism, fear, and sense of government overreach, raising questions about how messaging can shape public perception and trust. On the ground, immigration communities have responded with organized resistance. Civil rights groups and advocacy organizations are mobilizing legal challenges to some of the enforcement's tactics tied to the operation. Protests have emerged in multiple cities where federal raids are taking place, signaling growing frustrations with what critics call militarized or disproportionate enforcement. Sorry about that. Local political leaders are joining the conversation, condemning the raids and questioning both the strategy and the symbolism behind the operation's branding. The political fallout extends beyond the local communities. Lawmakers in Congress have raised concern about transparency, proportionality, and accountability. While public opinion survey indicate that a growing segment of Americans is uncomfortable with the framing and execution of federal immigration efforts. The naming controversy has highlighted how messaging and optics can compound the effects of policy, fueling both national debate and heightened security of federal enforcement priorities. My discussion questions to this topic: how much does the naming of a federal operation affect public perception and trust in government? Are civil rights groups justified in framing enforcement actions as symbolic threats beyond their immediate operational impact? How should federal agencies balance the need of operational branding with sensitivity to public sentiment? What role should local political leaders play when federal operations impact their communities? Can symbolic messaging have a real legal or political consequences, or is it mostly a matter of optics? Ladies and gentlemen, as always, like I keep saying, let us know in the comment sections what do you think, and then what do you guys think?
Branding is everything.
Branding, it's everything. I hear with this though, people are burning their books and such, or returning them, because people are, afraid of what they have in their house, because everything now is an operation name that is involving literacy. So there's that. Are civil rights groups justified in framing enforcement action as a symbolic threat beyond their immediate operational impact? What do you think?
You want to take this one, Devin?
I mean,
What?
they're trying to
Sorry.
use Charlotte's Web to make a symbolic threat, aren't they?
I guess you could say that.
I mean, Charlotte's Web wasn't really uh,
But
like, I don't remember the literature, but the concept behind Charlotte's Web was the spider making inspirational quotes about a pig,
Yeah.
but they're taking it and revising it to, from the sounds of it, burn books that are not in their view.
right. Um, let's see. How should federal agencies balance the need for operational branding with sensitive to public sentiment? I think we just answered that question. Um, what role should local political leaders play when federal operations impact their community? Well, I think we also talked about that, ladies and gentlemen. No matter how much these local leaders are trying to do, these people are going to be there and they're going to create havoc.
Yeah. The real
Kids,
question is, how do we beat them at this game of theirs that they're creating to force us to play?
right.
The whole it's textbook stuff, you know.
It is.
Every uh nation in history has had some sort of book burning, all for the sake of the nation. So, which side do you stand on?
And who knows that this is what they're trying to do with all this political shit. That they're trying to, oh, let's call it project end of the
Sounds
world,
inspirational,
war
though.
at war, or
Sounds
whatever, something like
sounds
that.
inspirational.
It will, but then, generations to come, they're going to have that book sitting there. They ain't going to even look at it to read it. They're going to be like, oh my God, I own something that has to do with government policy. We have to burn this. That's what's going to happen.
Yep.
Um, Again, we're going to leave you the rest of these questions to you, the public, the viewer. You let us know in the comment section. Little food for thought here. Make sure that you hit that subscribe button, hit that bell, and share it. Share with your friends. All right. Now we're gonna move on to the next segment here. Oh! What did I just do? Ah, Nicki Minaj was at the UN, a celebrity spotlight on religious violence. The rapper Nicki Minaj made headlines this week with a powerful intervention on the global stage. She addressed a high profile UN to call out what she described as escalating attacks on Christians in Nigeria. Invited by U.S. Ambassador Mike Waltz, Minaj spoke at a panel titled Combating Religious Violence and the Killing of Christians in Nigeria, using her massive platform to amplify concerns about religious persecution. Sorry. In her roughly 4-minute address, Minaj thanked former President Donald Trump for drawing international attention to the crisis. She called for urgent action to defend Christians in Nigeria, to combat extremism, to bring a stop to violence against those who simply want to express their natural right to freedom of religion or belief. Uh, Sorry about that. I was checking a comment here. Shout out to RMR, Jose, Richard Lynn, Joe S. What up, guys? Um, Minaj described. Sorry about that. Minaj described scenes of profound suffering, Christians being targeted, driven from their homes, and killed, houses of worship destroyed, and families torn apart simply because of how they pray. She made clear that her message was not about taking political sides. Protecting Christians in Nigeria is not about taking sides. It's about uniting humanity, said Nicki Minaj. But her remarks have sparked controversy. While some praised her for leveraging celebrity influence to shed light on religious violence, others cautioned that Minaj's portrayal simplifies a complex reality. Critics argue that her claims echo politically charged rhetoric, especially given the involvement of Trump in risk oversimplifying the full scale and nuance of Nigeria's interreligious insecurity challenges. International observers are also debating the implication of her statements. For many, Minaj's UN appearance illustrates the growing intersection of pop culture and global diplomacy, but also raises urgent questions when celebrities step into geopolitical debates. What responsibilities do they carry, and how can their voices amplify the human suffering without distorting political realities? Here's my discussion questions. What impact does Nicki Minaj uh, platform have when she discusses global human rights issues on the UN stage? Is her framing of the crisis in Nigeria accurate, or does it risk simplifying much more complex conflict? What are the risks and benefits of celebrity activism and international policies or politics? How should world leaders and international institutions respond when non political figures can call attention to geopolitical violence? Does Minaj message at the UN advance global religious freedom, or does it feel into polarized political narratives? Let us know in the comment section, as always, ladies and gentlemen. And boys, I'm going to go right into it real quick. What impacts does Nicki Minaj platform have when she discusses global human rights issues on the UN stage? Um, does she know what's really happening or what's truly going on? I mean, the facts are there that yes, Nigeria has killed over 75 Christians, of what I saw. Okay, 75 Christians, but I don't know much yet. I need to do more research and more about it before I speak more on it on here, right? But I believe, okay, like here we go. Is her framing of the crisis in Nigeria accurate, or does it risk simplifying much more complex conflict? If she knows what's truly going on there, that she physically was there and knows what's going on, or she knows that somebody, an official maybe that she knows personally there, uh, knows about the situation and she's getting informed, then great, awesome that she spoke about it, right? But here's the risk about what's happening, right? Of why I feel like she went to the UN to talk for only a 4 minute conversation, and that's it. For me, that was more for herself. Am I wrong here?
No.
Right? Because as we all know, I don't know if you know this, Dan, but I bet you do. I bet you do, Prophet. But Michael Jackson was involved for the teardown of the Berlin Wall. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
So,
I knew that.
so you know what I mean? He did more for history and for advocating for black people, Hispanics, and white people as well for discrimination on, people. Certain people can't really hold a job because of their health and or mental health and things like that. But the point I'm trying to get to is with this, what happened with Nicki Minaj and getting into the UN stage to talk about something for only 4 minutes, that clearly, if she wanted to be more involved and you're in the UN stage, you should have at least gave them a 25 minutes uh, talk about the situation and maybe have an
Yeah.
idea of your own of how to attack the situation and not just give us a plain old 4 minute uh, conversation about it. That's my opinion on this. I'm not trying to throw shade to Nicki Minaj. I'm glad that she's trying to bring advocacy for Christians in Nigeria. But at the same time, 4 minutes, 4 minutes, ladies and gentlemen, 4 minutes was not enough to put the point across and to have a better understanding for the people who are sitting there in front of you. Yes, I get it. Hey, let's not do a 25-minute conversation to bore them. But at the same time, if you really truly mean business, you should have brought something bigger to the table. You know, that's just me. What are the risks and benefits of celebrity activism in international politics? Like I said already, guys, there's no risk really. The problem is that if they talk out of their ass, then that's where the risk could land. If they end up trying to say something inaccurate, um, on international politics. How should world leaders and international institutions respond when non-political figures call attention to geopolitical violence? I mean, sit down and listen. Sit down and listen. See if it makes sense. Uh, you know what I mean? See if it makes sense. And again, it goes again to, is she speaking out of her ass, or does she know what she's truly talking about? And then you go from there, ladies and gentlemen. You take your decision. Like, do you listen or you don't listen? Do you agree or you disagree? Does Minaj message to the UN advance global religious freedom, or does it feed into polarized political narratives? Uh, I don't know if this truly advances global religious freedom, um, but it brings it to light, right? It brings it up to
Yeah.
light, and that's pretty much all we got from the. Does it feed it into a polarized political narrative? Who knows? You be the judge of that. We're gonna move along though. We're gonna now go across sea. Um, the topic is about Russian strike kills 25 in Ukraine, Chernobyl. Western Ukraine was rocked by a devastating Russian attack when a massive drone and a missile strike hit the city of Chernobyl, leaving at least 25 people dead, including 3 children, and injuring dozens more. The assault targeted two 9-story residential apartment buildings with upper floors catching fire and many victims trapped inside. Ukrainian Interior Minister Igor, is it Igor? I I don't mean to say it like this, ladies and gentlemen. I'm sorry. Ihor, but not the way you think it's written. Ihor Klemenko reported that at least 19 of the deceased were burned alive, um, underscoring the extreme human toll of the bombardment. Emergency services confirmed that 73 people were wounded, 15 who were children. According to Ukraine's Air Force, the attack involved 476 drones, including strike and decoy drones and 48 missiles. Western supplied fighter jets, including F-16s and Mirage 2000s, managed to intercept several incoming cruise missiles, but the scale of the assault overwhelmed local defenses. President Volodymyr Zelensky, who was in Turkey for talks with President Recep Tayyip Erdogan at the time, condemned the attack as a brutal strike against ordinary life. He emphasized that the scale of the assault highlights the continuing insufficiency of international pressure on Russia and the urgent need for a stronger air defense support. Rescue operations in Chernobyl are ongoing. Authorities report extensive damage to two apartment buildings, with floors three through nine of one building destroyed or engulfed in flames. Local emergency crews are working tirelessly to recover survivors from the rubble, and hospitals are preparing for additional casualties as injured residents are treated. This attack is among the deadliest on western Ukraine in recent months and has prompted renewed calls from Kyiv for advanced air defense systems from NATO and other international partners. Analysts warn that the intensity of the Ternopil strike demonstrates Russia's willingness to target areas far from frontline combat, signaling a strategy that increasingly threatens civilian populations. Now, my ending discussion questions about this: what does the targeting of Western Ukrainian cities suggest about Russia's broader military strategy? How effective are Ukraine's air defenses against large scale drone and missile assaults? And what gaps remain? What role should international partners including NATO and the EU, play in bolstering Ukraine's air defense capabilities? How do civilian casualties from attacks like this shape global public opinion and the political will to support Ukraine? Could such strikes influence ongoing diplomatic efforts, including Zelensky negotiations with regional leaders, or escalate pressure on Russia? You let us know in the comment section. As always, ladies and gentlemen, uh, what do you guys think? Let me start from the beginning here. What does this targeting of the Western Ukrainian cities suggest about Russia's broader military strategy? I believe it has to do with they just want to kill as many Ukrainians as they can,
So,
mercilessly.
okay, yes and no. What country immediately borders the western side of Ukraine? Poland. Okay. And Poland is just itching for a fucking reason to fuck around and find out right now.
Right.
Okay. So Russia thinks that if it can hit the western side of Ukraine, it can basically keep Poland from assisting Ukraine. Which, in a way, yes. Now, I know your follow-up question is going to be, or at some point, one of your next follow-up questions is going to be, is Ukraine's air defense.
Yeah. How effective are Ukraine's air defense against large-scale drone
So,
and missile assaults, and what gaps remain?
I do know for a fact that one of these air defense systems that Ukraine has is the U.S. Hold on, because it's literally right here. Is the Raytheon. I gotta fucking go to this. Is the Raytheon MIM 104 Patriot system. Okay. Which is our most advanced Patriot system, or most advanced air defense system to date. We also have the HIMARS system. Which, granted, the HIMARS isn't an air defense system, it's a MLRS system that is extremely stupidly accurate and stupidly overpowered. Patriot system is basically I can't remember what is, but it's basically the Russian. We'll say it's basically the Russian SA-2 on steroids. So, like I said, that is our most advanced air defense system to date. So, and from my understanding, but that being said, even with that high of a successful interception rate, shit's bound to get through. Because eventually the air defense gets overran, and there's really nothing it can do once that happens.
Right.
So
What role should international partners, including NATO and the EU, play in bolstering Ukraine's air defense capabilities. I'm trying to figure out what EU is. The United Nations? No, what?
European Union.
Union. Ah, okay.
Well, okay, so I mean, obviously, there's obviously so much that NATO and the European Union as a whole can do. Okay, we can keep sending munition, we can keep sending equipment and whatnot until this actually goes full into a full blown from just a minor conflict between well, I'm going to say it between two third world countries. Because I mean, yeah, Russia is in all technicality a world power, but they're also technically a third world country. Um, to a point. Once this goes from one of or just a war between two countries, and one of our allies is actually faces an immediate threat or faces an immediate attack, there's really nothing that NATO or the EU or the US can really do, because at that point we would be initiating World War III, and that's what we're trying to that's what President Trump is trying to avoid, is World War III. Um so I mean, there's only so much assistance we can lend. Like, I mean, we can keep sending more Patriot systems over, and we can keep sending more Hercules systems over, and Germany can keep sending, or well, I'm pretty sure Britain has the Hercules system. I don't know what Germany's is. Uh, but we can keep sending air defense systems and air defense and munitions for those air defense systems, and we can keep training up to date on how to properly use these air defense systems. But until Poland or one or an actual member of NATO faces an immediate threat or or is actually under attack from Russia, there's really nothing we can do. It kind of goes the same thing with China. If we and that's another reason as to why we keep funding the war in Ukraine. Okay, I learned this earlier today while I was watching YouTube reels. The whole reason we keep funding Ukraine is because it's keeping Russia busy. Okay, it's keeping Russia expending and expelling resources and expending troops and armor and ammo and aircraft and all sorts of shit, which in turn means, oh, the only enemy we really have to deal with is China. The second the war in Ukraine stops, that gives Russia a chance to rebuild and restock, resupply, retrain, and re-outfit, and then we're fighting two enemies instead of just one.
Right.
So that's another reason why we're not quite getting fully involved, because we know if we get fully involved, then China's going to get involved and then all of a sudden, boom, there's World War III. So that's why we're trying. That's why we're not. That's why we don't have exactly have boots on the ground and U.S. color and aircraft flying U.S. colors with U.S. markings. Um, yes, we have U.S. aircraft or in theater, but they are under Ukrainian colors with Ukrainian markings, and just to keep it from being an actual international incident and starting World War III.
Right. Uh, well, we got to continue on here, Dad, because we only have about 8
About
minutes.
10 minutes left.
10 minutes, yeah, because we gotta end this before it gets too long on us. So
Yep.
we're gonna leave you guys the other two questions. I'm gonna try to blow through this article and then have our friend Dab go through
I
his
can
real
save my
quick.
last two for the next
Oh
next
well, okay.
episode.
Well, let's blow through this last one, shall we? Israel strikes Palestinian refugee camp in Lebanon. A deadly Israel's drone strike hit the Ain Hilway Palestinian refugee camp in southern Lebanon on November 18, 2025. Killing at least 13 people and wounding several others. According to the Lebanese Health Ministry, the strike, which landed in a car park near Khalid bin Al Walid Mosque, marks the deadliest attack on Lebanon since the ceasefire with Hezbollah went into effect last year. The Israel military stated that the target was Hamas training compound allegedly planning attacks on Israel. Hamas strongly denied the claim, insisting the site struck was a sports playground, not a militant base. Independent verification has been complicated by restricted access, with journalists barred from entering the camp. Lebanese authorities reported that multiple missiles hit nearby structures, causing significant destruction and civilian casualties. Humanitarian teams rushed to transport the wounded to local hospitals, while rescue efforts continued amid the chaos. A resident of Ain El Hilway, one of Lebanon's largest and most densely populated refugee camps, described the attack as a traumatic reminder of the camp's vulnerability in ongoing regional conflicts. The strike has sparked widespread political concerns. Lebanese officials warned that the attack could reignite tensions with Israel, potentially destabilizing the fragile ceasefire and fueling retaliatory actions from Palestinian groups or Hezbollah. Regional analysis expressed alarms that targeting a refugee camp could escalate civilian harm and inflame broader hostilities, challenging the principles of proportionality and international law in military operations. International observers are monitoring the situation closely, emphasizing the urgent need for restraint and protection of civilians in densely populated areas. The attack underscores ongoing tensions in religion and highlights the humanitarian risks posed by military strikes in vulnerable communities. My discussing questions about this are: how credible are Israel's claims that the target was militant compound rather than a civilian area? Sorry. What are the implications of striking a refugee camp for the fragile ceasefire in southern Lebanon? How can international actors ensure civilian protection in densely populated conflict zones? Could this strike trigger a broader escalation between Israel, Hezbollah, and Palestinian factions in Lebanon? What diplomatic or humanitarian measures could mitigate the fallout from attacks on refugee populations? You let us know in the comment section, ladies and gentlemen. Maybe we can answer maybe a couple of these real quick before we move it over to our good friend Prophet for his joke of the night. Let's see here. Which one sounded best to you? How credible are Israel's claims that the target was militant compound rather than a civilian area? Maybe bullshit. I think it's bullshit. They might have known. They might have known.
I mean, there it'd be it. We won't. We can't say for sure because it.
Yeah. We really can't say for
It's
sure.
hard
We
to say
won't.
for sure.
We won't never know. And when things like this happen, only the secret people know. What are the implications of striking a refugee camp for the fragile ceasefire in southern Lebanon? I mean, like we just said, we don't even know. Let us know if you know. How can international actors ensure civilian protection in densely populated conflicts? Could this strike trigger a broader escalation between Israel, Hezbollah, and Palestinian factions in Lebanon? More than likely. It sounds like if it was a ceasefire a year ago, but they're trying to also pick it up with the Palestinian, people again, then you already know that um, it might escalate because that's what it always happens over there. It ends up escalating every time. What diplomatic or humanitarian measures could mitigate the fallout from attacks on refugee populations? I wish that they can all just say, can we just be human beings and help one another instead of bombing each other because we're different? But, what can we do? There's only so many things that we can do to reveal that we are just one, but nobody will ever understand that. We're gonna pass it now to a good friend of ours, the Prophet. Prophet, go ahead with that joke, buddy.
Honestly, I can't remember anything right now. I don't have a good joke.
Ladies and gentlemen, we have took so long on this show that our good friend, the Prophet, has forgotten the joke. But don't worry. On the next episode on Friday, he will have this joke written down.
Again, yeah.
Again. But ladies and gentlemen, this that wraps up the show tonight. Deep dive. Well, let me start from the beginning, huh? That wraps up tonight's deep dive on Unbound, ladies and gentlemen. From the aggressive immigration crackdowns in North Carolina and debates over the Justice Department handling Epstein Files to the literary and political controversy sparked by Operation Charlotte's Web and President Trump's remark on Jamal Khashoggi, we've covered a lot of ground. We also unpacked the state versus federal tension over immigration enforcement, the latest court battles in Texas, and the threats and strategies shaping U.S. actions against Latin American cartels. On the international front, we explored the devastating Russian strike in the Ukraine and the deadly Israeli attack on the Palestinian refugee camp in Lebanon. These stories aren't just headlines. They're about people, communities, and the very real consequences of policy and conflict. They raise urgent questions about accountability, civil liberties, and global responsibility. But as always, before we go, we want to take a moment to remind our listeners that it's okay to ask for help. The stories we covered tonight, from immigration raids and political tensions to conflict abroad, can be overwhelming, and it's normal to feel anxious and stressed and unsettled. If you or someone you know is struggling with mental health challenges, don't hesitate to reach out. In the U.S., you can contact the 988 Suicide and Crisis Lifeline by dialing or texting 988 for confidential support. We also want to acknowledge that domestic violence affects millions of people every year. If you or someone you love is in danger, you can contact the National Domestic Violence Hotline at 1-800-799-7233 or visit thehotline.org to find resources and support. Taking care of your mental health and safety is just as important as staying informed. You are not alone, and help is always available. We hope tonight's episode leaves you thinking critically, asking tough questions, and paying closer attention to the forces shaping our world. I'm Jay Morales. With me, as always, DabDon710, and our special guest, the Prophet. Thanks for listening to our Unbound. Stay alert, stay informed, and we'll see you next time. And don't forget, stay unbound. Boys, go ahead and say your goodbyes.
Have a good night, y'all. Thanks for coming. We'll see you
Good
next
night,
week.
everyone.
And we'll catch you on Friday, ladies and gentlemen, between the hours of 10:30. It might be pushed a little bit forward, just due to Friday Night SmackDown, and we'll give you the latest on what happens then, ladies and gentlemen. Again, thank you for joining us. We're gonna leave you tonight with our good friend Eddie. Edwin Gray. I almost said Eddie Weber. Eddie Weber, shout out to you, man. We're going to leave you with our good friend Edwin Gray from the band Tempest tonight, playing Won't Remember. Have a good night again, ladies and gentlemen. We'll catch you Friday. Oh, no. There we go. We fixed it. We'll catch you Friday. Boys, if you want to move to the other channel, catch you there.
Yep.
When you wanna make it right, but it's easier to fight. When you wanna make it right, but it's easier to fight. When you wanna make it right, but it's easier to fight. When you wanna make it right, but it's easier to hold your head up high. Then turn around and face the things that tie you to the ground, yeah. When it comes to feeling something, no one's gonna tear you down like you do to yourself. Alright, no, I won't remember. No, I won't remember. No, I won't remember. No, I won't remember all the things I said when I was drunk and you were hiding your head. Whoa, whoa. When you wanna make it right, but it's easier to fight. When you wanna make it right, but it's easier to fight. When you wanna make it right, but it's easier to fight. When you wanna make it right, but it's easier to hold your head up high. Then turn around and face the things that tie you to the ground, yeah. 'Cause when it comes to feeling something, no one's gonna tear you down like you do to yourself. Alright, you know I won't remember. No, I won't remember. No, I won't remember. No, I won't remember all the things I said when I was drunk and you were hiding your head.
But the cream will rise to the top, oh yeah.